Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie West. I'm a licensed counselor here in the state of Michigan, and I'm owner and operator of In Progress Counseling. Today we're going to use the visual of a triangle, and this is such a cool visual to pull in with clients related to relational work when especially there's things like over responsibility or maybe even a felt sense of needing to control things showing up. We'll use the language of a triangle. So let's say I have someone in my office, and we'll say her name is Lindsay. And Lindsay is maybe having a conversation. She's coming in and she's having some conversations about, let's say, her mom, Jane. Okay, so Lindsay's in my office, and we're trying to figure out appropriate responsibility related to relationship with Jane. And so I'm sitting in my chair. And my chair, if you've ever been in my office, it's over here. And then I have two client chairs over here. So it's a great visual when I'm sitting in my chair and I say to Lindsay, Lindsay's over here and there's an empty chair. I say, okay, we're going to put Jane in that chair a minute. But because we've put Jane in that chair, we have something that's shifted in the room here. You add a third person, you add two additional relationships into this room. Because you and I, Lindsay, we have a relationship together. We have something built. Lindsay, you have a relationship built with Jane, but now I, Steph, do not have a relationship with Jane, but that is now going to be built because we're in the room together. So I'm pointing from her chair to my chair. Because there's a third person in the room, there are now three relationships present. Now, let's say that Lindsay feels this sense of overprotection for Jane. Lindsay feels like she's responsible for Jane. What I'll wonder aloud with Lindsay is, let's say Jane and Steph are in the same room together. Is it your job to make sure that conversation goes well? Do you feel like it's your job to make sure that conversation goes well? Will your mom pull you into that conversation to help it go well? Will your mom ask you to speak to me? And now you're interfering with my ability to navigate in the room because your mom wants to be rescued or your mom wants some help to get her point of view across. If Lindsay is going to be healthy in relationship in the room here, and we all three are consenting adults in the room, there is a triangle. And each of us in that triangle have two directions we're working in. I, Steph, am connected to Jane, and I'm connected to Lindsay. Lindsay is connected to me, she's connected to Jane, and because that's true, we have three sides of the triangle. When Lindsay over here at the corner is trying to manufacture something specific between Jane and Steph, she is now taking on too much responsibility or too much control if Jane and Steph are competent adults. Now that's the breakdown often, because we will assume, well, they're never gonna get to the point together. They're never gonna get along. They're never gonna figure it out. Whatever Lindsay's deciding about Steph and Jane, she is going to be making decisions based on those assumptions. She's going to be making decisions based on what she knows about Jane or what she knows about Steph, and she's gonna try to manufacture things a particular way. Now, in the context with a client with whom I have good rapport, we would highlight that as being possibly a little manipulative. Why do you, Lindsay, need Steph and Jane to have a very specific relationship? Or why do you, Lindsay, if Jane wants you to step in, why are you so willing to do that? Let's say that I'm the one in the dynamic that's not doing well. Why would Lindsay have to step in and rescue Steph? You don't need to rescue me from your mom. You don't need to rescue your mom from me. Jane and Steph have their own relationship. And Lindsay has a relationship built with Jane and with Steph. Those should not be threatened as Jane and Steph are establishing their relationship. We use it through the language of differentiation. There are three different relationships going on. And often when someone comes in with a felt sense of over-responsibility or a desire to control, we put the triangle up on the board and we highlight and we heavily emphasize that Jane and Steph are mutually consenting adults in this situation, and maybe they have to have conflict to sort things out. Maybe they need to speak truthfully to land at a new place. Maybe they need to go through the growing pains of a relationship, and it's not on Lindsay and her relationship with Steph or Jane that needs to facilitate a good outcome. Lindsay's allowed to let us, Jane and myself, sort through it. And if she's not willing to, that's its own conversation. Again, is it a felt sense of responsibility? Is it a protection? Is it a control? I'm not sure. But if there's a triangle, if there are three people in a dynamic and one person at one of the corners does not let that independent relationship blossom, we want to ask why. Because when there are three people, there are three separate relationships. That's real. That's true. That's what's going on. Do we let them be three separate relationships? It's a really cool question to be asking.